resource support organization. We are functioning from Hyderabad. We started about 12 years back. I explain the background, and in that context I will try to put our experiences about networking. I hope that will be relevant to your initiative here. First of all, I congratulate Sakyawata, Sakyam and all of you to take this initiative and then push an agenda which is almost not very seriously attended to. Vasan, as you know, it came with a background of watershed development programs in India, where large number of civil society organizations were partnering with government for the first time as implementing agencies. And this partnership required some kind of moderation, some kind of troubleshooting arrangement, because many NGOs were not working with government formally and taking money from government and implementing projects at the village level. It was new for both government as well as NGOs. AP Andhra Pradesh has been a kind of forerunner in engaging NGOs and government programs for a long period. With this background, Vasan came as a kind of support organization to facilitate better partnerships. Our main mandate was to deepen participatory processes in mainstream programs. And in that context, we believe that government is making a lot of investments, crores of rupees, and any improvement in the processes will lead to better results. Our main emphasis has been to improve government programs, with a partnership mode, with a networking and capacity building kind of support. So with that mandate, we realized that improvements don't happen with one organization or one individual. And there are variety of experiences across the country, both at the field level with academic institutions, within government programs, as well as with the communities. So it's important to pull all these kind of experiences, expertise, and put them on the same platform so that programs can pick up lessons from that and take them into their own context. So with that background, we believe that networking is an important requirement for improving the programs and policies. We started organizing annual network meetings of Vasan, where about 100 to 200 people come from different backgrounds. As I mentioned, it's a platform for a variety of backgrounds: NGOs, community-based organizations, Panchayati Raj representatives, government officers, academic research institutions, media people. All of them come and share their experiences. We try to spot good practices and project them in these meetings. We also try and identify problems and then project them in the network meetings. And because we ask government people to come to these meetings, they usually respond to them and find out a common solution which is agreeable to all. And that sets the agenda for us to act and take it forward. With this kind of mandate, we have been organizing annual network meetings for the last 13 years. And every year we pick up a theme and identify good practices, problems, and involve a variety of stakeholders in that process and try and push the agenda on that issue for a little forward. Over a period of time, we started working on watershed issues. Within that, we realized that there are several subsectors like livestock, for example, tree cultivation, fisheries, rainfed agriculture, groundwater, seed. Variety of subsectors and variety of themes became more important: employment, livelihoods, women's role in agriculture, pesticide management in agriculture. So we picked up several themes and then tried to see what are the good practices, what is the current program of the government. Even if it is not there, can we create a new program, new policy based on the good practices? So with that kind of mandate, we started picking up all these ideas and started influencing the government as well as NGOs to take up these initiatives forward. In that process, we were able to design new programs for the government. For example, Andhra Pradesh has been very successful in promoting women self-help groups. With these women self-help groups, we were able to promote non-pesticide management of agriculture at the beginning, and then now it is completely mainstreamed by the Department of Rural Development, and large number of women farmers are actually cultivating agriculture where local practices are no pesticides are used for managing pesticides. That is one kind of initiative. Similarly, government distributed lands, SL lands to farmers which are not cultivated, and we looked at some experiences in our network. For example, Dakhan Development Society and the APPS in Anantapur, and several other agencies in Chittoor district, where they specially developed SL lands. Based on all such experiences, we showcase them in our network meeting and push the government to look at this assigned lands development program as a special initiative and integrate them within watershed programs as well as take them as a separate program. Government was convinced and they initiated a program called Comprehensive Land Development Program, and they borrowed money from NABARD. I think now they would have spent almost 1,000 plus crores on this program. The first few phases of the program were designed by Vasan along with our network partners. And this program, when this program was initiated, we also created a special stream in that where about 17 of our partners took some pilots in different parts of the state and demonstrated the same guidelines in the reality, and then provided feedback to the government on the mainstream program, which was parallelly initiated by government itself. So we were always engaged with this kind of partnership. Pick up a good practice, pick up a problem, combine them, provide a set of solutions and motivate our partners as well as government and donors to take them to some kind of policy, some kind of program, and see that NGOs find some space in that whole implementation of the program, either as capacity building support, monitoring support or implementation support. In this cyclic process, we were trying to bring back the good practices or feedback to the government and then improve the program. So this kind of engagement was very, very integral to our strategy, and we have been able to take up several such themes. Two examples I already gave. Similarly, our livelihood resource centers also, capacity building support itself, we evolved into a network kind of mode. Of late, we realized that government programs like watershed program or comprehensive land development program have certain kind of rigidities or certain kind of established norms, and you may not be able to make significant change, particularly when we are looking at rain-fed agriculture kind of themes. Rain-fed agriculture has been our core concerns. The productivity and the support systems that government has to provide, to promote rain-fed agriculture is almost neglected by mainstream policies. Realizing that, we initiated a program, we initiated revitalization of rain-fed agriculture network. We realized that most of the rain-fed agriculture is following green revolution type of technologies, policy framework, and then there is no independent thinking for rain-fed agriculture practitioners as well as policy makers. So with this kind of realization, we realized that there are several sectors, subsectors that influence, that are integral to rain-fed agriculture. For example, groundwater, seed, soil fertility, pest management, particularly millets type of rain-fed crops which are almost vanishing from our meals. So we identify all these subsectors and then we spotted who is working on this issue, who has good experience, expertise, and who is already engaged either with policy dialogue or large scale of implementation at the field level and demonstrated some kind of alternative to current problems. So we interacted with all those people. Luckily, many of them were equally energized and they were equally motivated to be part of this kind of arrangement. And then everyone said, okay, this is an issue that is close to our heart, we would like to be part of this. So with this kind of agreement about, I think this is an open kind of network that is growing up. Many individuals are coming, many organizations are coming, and each organization has a specific role, particularly what we name them, we call them nodes. For example, Aquadam, Himanshu is heading a node called groundwater node. Similarly, there are nodes for seed, there is node for millets, there is node for fisheries, there is node for soil fertility, like that. So each sector, each theme requires its own attention, its own policy level dialogue, policy level conceptualization, and field level experiences that need to be either documented or more experiences need to be created. So this node has a specific function to steer this kind of initiatives, either policy dialoguing, documentation of good practices, promoting new alternative practices, and then bring them back to policies, and then that kind of cyclic exercise. So many organizations are coming together to lead these nodes and then interact with respect to governments either at state level or national level, create enabling policy on one hand, create evidences on the ground on the other hand. So this kind of upward, backward linkages are happening through this initiative. Over a period of time, we realized that this rain-fed agriculture related experiences are not comprehensively available in a single, in a limited, number of villages. We know very good experiences on seed. We know very good experiences of groundwater management. We know good experiences of fisheries, for example. Like that, each organization is focusing on a specific theme and they have demonstrated wonderful experiences. But if you want to look at a village with comprehensive rainfed agriculture practices and demonstrated results, we don't have. So looking at that, we started kind of comprehensive pilots in several parts of the country where about 9 organizations came together and they designed a package of interventions looking at soils to livestock to groundwater management to surface water and other subsystems like fisheries. If there is scope for harvesting water, water bodies potential is there. Similarly, livestock, seed. So a comprehensive pilot is being designed in each location depending on the local agricultural context. And then the main idea is to demonstrate good practices in a comprehensive way and seek government interventions in this. They are not isolated from government programs. Each pilot is expected to mobilize considerable finances, funds and other kind of support from local governments there. And then see that they are mainstreamed while piloting itself going on. So this kind of evidence to be created in several parts. The idea is these evidences will create kind of pressure on the local governments at the state level as well as at the national level to think differently and create relevant policies for rainfed agriculture. We are mainly targeting programs like watershed development programs, RKVY, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, and there are other programs like National Rural Livelihood Programs, National Horticulture Mission. Variety of government programs are already there. Our main target is to influence the way these programs are implemented based on the evidences that are created by these comprehensive pilots. On one hand, a team is working with academicians to create academic rigor in the arguments that field level experiences are creating. On the other hand, there is also a support from media group through websites and communication strategies to generally create some kind of popular opinion on the kind of support that rainfed agriculture requires. So this is the kind of mode in which we are operating in this network mode. There are a few points in this whole networking experience that I would like to put before you. I think this whole arrangement requires considerable energies and there are huge transaction costs. Somebody has to spend a lot of time in bringing people together and then there will be always divergent kind of experiences. In the last presentation itself we saw so much of varieties of opinions on the kind of solutions that you proposed. All of them finally said the same thing if you look at that, but they express it differently and sometimes they can be interpreted as disagreement. But there is an undercurrent of agreement. For example, what he mentioned, all those suggestions were already mentioned in your presentation. But the way he mentioned, one can say that, oh, he is opposing, he has a different point of view. But it is not. This kind of coordination, dialoguing has lot of dynamics. Sometimes they lead to a lot of conflicts also. Whoever coordinates and brings them together should have, I think, greater maturity or see the essence, not the language, not the kind of body language, but keep the broader perspective, broader goals in mind and still go along with them, take them along with them. That kind of attitude I think is very important. Sometimes you need to fight with each other. Definitely there are not all occasions where you can agree. So that kind of healthy atmosphere is very, very essential because many times NGOs or I assume academic institutions also tend to think that we would like to work on our own. We don't want to take money from government. It is a lot of waste of time. Why should I wait in a corridor of a particular secretary and things like that. When you are trying to influence mainstream programs either in program or policy kind of context, I don't think you have a choice of not going to work with government. If you have endless resources, maybe that's a different issue altogether. I think we have a situation where resources are fairly limited and government is spending a lot of money. Even if you have a lot of resources, it is strategically important to see that government resources are better utilized. from that point of view, the idea of working with government has lot of challenges, lot of problems. One needs to be mentally prepared. I think ego is one of the major problems. Why should I wait in the corridors of a secretary or an assistant engineer or whoever is there in the government department. I think we need to be really be patient and then believe that our role is much bigger than meeting that person and facing whatever humiliation if at all. I think sometimes if you go without notice and you may have to wait. You need to believe such kind of protocols and things like that. And another point is willing to give time. I think that's very important. Most of this dialogue or interactions coming to a common understanding take a lot of time. If you don't invest that kind of time and if you are not open to take ideas from others, it can't progress. Then there won't be common ground, and it may lead to one's own agenda being pushed to everyone. So I think giving time is the most important requirement of the network members, so that the agenda is pushed. And another important requirement I think is funding support. Though things can happen, simply by giving time. I think most of our initiatives actually are not funded formally by any donor or so. Somehow we got very, reasonably, knowledgeable and mature donors. They allow us to take time off to work for other issues, even though we are funded by partner agency and all. So this kind of arrangement requires continuity in funding and continuity in taking up the emerging issues. For example, when you start something, suddenly a new initiative comes. For example, there may be focus only on groundwater, and there may not be focus on extension of seed or a particular cropping agronomy. So in that context, do we want to really look at that, given the criticality of that issue? If you don't have to take up such emerging issues, you may not be able to justify the networking effort. These are some of the kind of enabling requirements of networking effort. I think I would stop here.
Yeah, so if you just sit down,
yeah,
and I found
yeah,
sort of